Welcome to the Dr. G Show. This is episode 186. You know, the next one should be, since 187, it should be about death. Yeah? That's what 187 is in cop terms.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Hi, everybody, and welcome.
And so we have
That's way better.
Suzanne as our guest today.
Yeah.
And tonight, so the last 3 episodes we did on COVID. And so we talked ad nauseum about that. And then what we're going to talk about today is emotional intelligence. And we're going to talk about... Oh, did I put it on here?
Self-awareness, empathy.
Oh, here we go. Finding happiness through healthy boundaries and better emotional intelligence with ourselves, our relationships, our family, and even Facebook. So, like social media.
I have a lot of details for the social media stuff.
Is that right?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Because this is a big topic. So, one of the things I'm going to talk about, we have lots of examples that we're going to throw out. Not our own personal relationships. I'm gonna if I mention something, I'll tell you. But otherwise, this is something that like all our family goes through. These are examples of everything that we've been through. Like every patient, like constantly goes through this stuff. And earlier you were talking about like finally becoming aware of this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And like once it's kind of like how white people be discovering stuff, right? I discovered this continent that these people lived on, right?
Yeah.
But that's the thing is like you never know this stuff actually exists. You never know there's this better chance for happiness and balance and kind of harmony in your life until you are aware of it. Well, even more importantly, because knowledge is not power, application of knowledge is power. So not only do you become aware of it, but really it's going to be for people who are just sick and tired of the bullcrap and they desire to have that healthier and happier and balanced kind of life. Like as Scott Spradlin used to say, like, a life worth living, right? What would you do to live a life worth living? And I ask that question to patients every now and then. And you know what the answer is? I don't know.
They don't know.
I literally give them homework.
Mm-hmm.
And it takes them on average 6 weeks to fill out what would it look like to have a life worth living. What would you do differently? How would you behave differently? And that all goes to this idea of emotional intelligence. And so emotional intelligence starts out with becoming aware. Right? Most of us are just on this kind of like autonomic kind of path in life. Like, we kind of feel like we're hardwired in our brain. And we just kind of like do the same thing all the time. We keep repeating our same mistakes. We keep getting exploited for our own trigger responses and trauma responses. And we don't even realize this until one day you become actually aware of what people are doing to you, how it impacts you, what you do to others, and how it impacts, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And once you have that aware, we talk about how to control that. And the control really is, how do you rewire and change? And then expression of our emotions. So we stop becoming reactive nightmares to everybody. And we know that other people are just reactive nightmares, and they're not aware yet. And that's okay. Because if you know that's how people react, it's from trauma response and reactions.
And training.
Then you know.
Trauma response from training.
You're not surprised.
Yeah.
But when you become aware of your reactiveness, you have the ability to control and change it. Mm-hmm. So we want to change from reactions to responses. And then how you handle your interpersonal relationships. And this is critical because, we're these psychosocial, sexual, spiritual beings. We have to have all these parts met. But we are truly social beings. And yet, freaking most people live in constant chaos and they blame everybody else for that chaos. But we can live within chaos or set healthier boundaries to live within that chaos and not live chaotically.
What's amazing about that is that we get conditioned to living in chaos.
Exactly.
And that's the part of the awareness, is to be separate yourself from the chaos.
Yeah.
Right? But the awareness has to come first, because even as children, I mean, we're even in the womb, we're experiencing things all the way up till 7 years old. This is not, and let's preface this whole thing first, is that we're not therapists. And we're not relationship gurus, and we don't have all the
martini therapist.
Yeah. So basically, the things that we're sharing here is a lot of what I've read and experienced, and what feels really good. But that from ages in the womb until we're 7 years old, that is how we manage the rest of our life if we don't become aware of the fact that we've had those experiences in that era of our life.
Yeah.
So if we had a terrible life when we were, a young child, that is how we're going to perceive the rest of our life.
Hey, that's right.
So, and this is a psychological thing. This isn't new.
Right.
So here we are. I don't know about you, but we're finding ourselves in our 50s, and we're like, oh, I think that happened when I was a kid. And that's why I'm acting like I'm acting now.
Why you say we in our 50s?
We as our 50s.
If you add both our ages together...
We in the 50-year-old category. We in the 50-year-old
I honestly wish they would teach this stuff in school. Because, I didn't know this existed. No. Well, let's finish the last two things for our emotional intelligence.
But you're right. I've been saying that for 20 years.
Yeah.
I wish this would be a course in our educational system. So
yeah.
Go ahead. So
the last two things, with our emotional intelligence is handling things judiciously and empathetically. And I'll tell you right off, I'm a very black and white person. I'm a very the right will prevail kind of person. And that is not a very empathetic way to handle people. Mm-hmm. And so there is you got to weigh this judicial thing. Like, what's the right thing to do, right? But often in relationships, in my own personal relationships, there is the reactive part of Patrick that's just like, and I'm just like going to be like reactive. But then I practice that pause, and then I have like, okay, what's the right thing to say?
Right.
Right? It's okay to be angry, but I don't have to act angry. I don't have to be upset by this. And then the other thing is empathetically of just saying, why would they do this? Why would they say this to me? Right? And so it's okay to just be like a little empathetic about, okay, they're damaged or they're hurt. I'm damaged and hurt.
Yeah.
This is probably not that big of a deal and may or may not be someone I should be with. Right? So those...
and we're not talking about just a romantic relationship. We're talking about all kinds of different relationships. Family, friends.
Yeah, and character, true character is how you act when you think nobody's looking. It's all easy for us to have this kind of like Facebook image of like, this is who I am and I'm so spiritual and I got it all figured out. And then you're like talking shit and like doing horrible things in the background, right? Not that I haven't done that or everybody else has done that.
What do you consider? What are you considering horrible? Hey, everybody!
Will you testify in court?
What do you have?
Because I'm not talking to anybody that will. No.
What do you have that seems horrible that you do in private that you wouldn't share with anyone else?
You want people to share that on?
I mean, is it thoughts? Like you're like, I'm
well,
thinking,
you got to be non-judgmental. Like
I think like judgmental thoughts. Like, I wish they wouldn't. No,
everybody has those.
I actually saw something the other day on social media where someone who I thought was a very spiritual person actually did that. Like they said, I really hope they have problems. I'm not going to say the specifics.
Like the karma?
They just said, I really hope they have problems. And I thought, I don't think I do that. Like, I don't ever wish anything bad upon anyone.
Just me.
So, but people do. I mean, that's just, we're all trained to do that, but.
Yeah, make sure we talk about grace for grace, not karma for grace. Or grace for karma.
Yeah.
So, Dave says, before we get into kind of the meat and potatoes,
let's see.
I'm wearing my psycho bunny, right? And I love that because, again, like emotional intelligence, right? He's all
Right.
cute. He has that perspective, right? Like, oh, this is a cute bunny. But it's psycho, right? It doesn't have emotional intelligence. So, looks cute,
Point.
very hurtful. All right, so Dave says, Dave is tired of all this bull
All the
crap.
bull crap.
Time to live.
Time to live. That's
Mhm.
right.
And then
That's Nathan says, "Who are you calling reactive?"
he's all like this. Who you calling?
What?
You talking to me? But you talking to me?
Exactly.
That's what.
Exactly.
That whole taxi driver movie is just reactive. That's all it is. No emotional insight. And you know what's funny is when you learn this stuff, like, God dang it, every time I watch movies now, it's ruined. Because I'm just like, they should just communicate effectively. Oh, so, like, you guys watch Cobra Kai? Cobra Kai could be done from the very beginning if people would just communicate. But it's all this like, I assume you're doing this and I assume this, and then they're quiet and then they're just angry. And I'm just like, dude, just say, hey, what you said really hurt me. Like, I feel like we should do this. Like, then like, I don't know, you have this whole different perspective, these whole different goggles now that you like watch other people and all that.
I've been really impressed with some of my friends lately that they have actually voiced that. Like, I really wish you would let me know ahead of time or something like that. And these are not traits that we're brought up with. So it's really nice to have someone actually respectively say, next time would you let me know so that I don't feel so bad right now.
Yeah.
Or feel the same as I do right now. And literally, as a human race, we don't really know that we're hurting someone sometimes by the choices that we make. So it's really nice to be able to have that feedback,
especially if we feel justified,
in a really healthy way.
If we're reactive, like we feel justified, and then we kind of ignore the empathy. Yeah. Oh, I've done that.
Well, I think we all have.
I'm just kidding, I haven't.
Has anyone out there ever done that? Like, had an experience where they, where you've actually said, hey, I didn't really know I was doing that. Thank you for, sharing, and I'll change that. That's not good. I don't want to make anybody feel that way.
Yeah.
That's really important.
Well, once you become aware of it.
Well, that's right. That's part of why we're having this conversation tonight, is to be able to become self-aware and say, hey, I didn't know I was doing that. Thank you.
So, like, if you guys know me, or have been to my lectures and stuff, I'm always talking about, like America's one of the leading countries for anxiety and depression in the whole planet, right? We have, like, the average American has 60,000 thoughts, and 90% of those are negative. Mm-hmm. Like, we really are this high, kind of like you were saying, we are hardwired for anxiety, depression, anger, karma, bitterness, all this kind of stuff, right? So,
for a lot of different reasons, and like we've talked in our shows before with the pineal gland and the thymus gland and all the toxins and toxicity that we have in our lives, it causes a lot of that too. And even one of the poignant things that you said one time was about when the infant who is just born is not connected with their mother.
Oh, yeah.
And all the fluids with all the C-sections and everything. That was a really poignant topic for me. Is
going from vagina straight to breast, staring, you guys are dumped tons of oxytocin in there. Yeah. Versus C-section, no oxytocin, take the baby, put it in a cooker, mom goes to get off the meds, and then they bring him back and like, hey, here's your baby.
And she falls into depression.
Yeah.
This is a big thing these days.
Yeah.
But that plus how all the toxicity in our lives, all the toxins that we're intaking, all of those things keep us in a state of not being able to have that oxytocin.
Yeah.
And that's why, and this is in my notes, but that's why when people fall in love and there's all of that oxytocin flowing and everything, people look better, they look healthier, their cells are regenerating, even their, what was it? The growth hormone.
Oh, yeah.
It's like all of that gets all stimulated. So why are we not in that state more often?
Yeah. Because of pride and ego.
Exactly.
And pain and
so we're going to talk
reactiveness.
about that a little bit.
Maybe.
No, it is. It's like ego, superego, belief systems, rigidness, too many hard boundaries, shaming, all kinds of different things, emotional deprivation.
Shame is the name of the game.
Narcissism. There's, yeah.
Gaslighting.
Mm-hmm.
Holy crap.
Stonewalling.
Like, yeah.
Yeah,
That's
there's
a
a lot.
whole thing. Like, when you
There's
become
a lot
self-aware of
now.
that stuff, you realize, oh, they're love bombing me. Like, I realized
Yeah.
2 women that I dated that I was just, like, destroyed when they, did they both? When they both broke up. Why'd they break up with me? But when they broke up with me, by text, one by text, we were so in love.
Probably distance.
But,
weren't they distance relationships? Long
no.
distance? Okay, I remember now.
They were hot,
Okay.
passionate, and then just like, we're broke up.
Some people do better at long distance relationships because they're not obligated.
I don't. I'm a snuggler.
Well, you're not. But
So,
that's a whole different topic.
what was I talking about now?
They broke up with you.
Oh, the love bombing.
The love bombing.
Yeah. So 2 of those relationships, I was just like, this is amazing. Like, they love every song I love. They love the music I love. They love the stuff that I love. They love doing all the activities I love. Like, this is like how did I not meet someone like this in my entire life? And then you realize all they're doing is love bombing. They are just mirroring you to gain your attention and affection. And none of it's like real. Like, it's crazy. So the first thing is self.
But
What?
back to that.
Okay.
Because we have social media, and we're going to touch on social media, I have some notes for everybody.
That's at the end.
It is at the end, so stay tuned because I have some notes.
Do you want to start with that? No.
I don't know. No, we'll
No.
finish up with it because it's really
Yeah.
a hot topic right now.
All right.
Since 2009.
See,
Oops.
you're going right into it.
Yeah.
Going right into it.
Okay, but
You're like going some of the movies,
However-
and you know the ending, and you're just like, is it?
That I can't
He's about to
stand it.
kill him right now
Oh, stop,
it's
don't look
the
at it.
cousin.
now I forgot what we're talking about.
Yeah.
So all of these things go into because we're aware that those things are now in our society, which weren't before 2007. I think I don't know when was it. Somebody tell me.
What?
When did we start?
Doing Facebook?
No, when did we start internet? 2004? 5, 6, 2005 or 6?
No, it's been around for a long time because we used to game in the 90s.
Gaming was different though. I mean, I played Pong.
That was on the internet. Like, it was sketchy stuff going on. Yeah?
I don't know. But anyway, we'll come back to that because we have a lot to talk about and we have very little time.
All right.
So, go ahead.
So, with kind of like figuring out happiness, right? So, the first thing is self, right? You have to start with you. You are the most important person in every relationship. Now, it sounds kind of narcissistic, egotistic, right? But that's self-love. You cannot love others if you don't love yourself. You cannot be in a healthy, happy relationship if you're not healthy and happy. Now, again, process-wise, you're never at that destination, but you can't expect that other person to complete you, ever. So you have to be healthy. You have to be balanced. You have to create healthier boundaries, right? The other people aren't going to do it for you. They are going to exploit you, especially if you're female. Men are typically selfish. And if you want to do everything, they'll let you do everything, right? There's so many girls. It's the tax return comes in. You see the guys and the woman's up there paying. The guys have their arms around the woman like that, standing behind them all proud, right? That's the she's picking up the check situation, right? That's some bull crap, right? So your healthy
That's funny.
boundaries, you will only have healthy boundaries once you actually decide that you are worthy of healthy boundaries. Because you being worthy means you can cut people off. If you are the most valuable person and your happiness is the most valuable, then when somebody is toxic, you can just walk away.
That's right.
But if you don't think that you are valuable, you will hold on and try to please that person.
That's right.
And you will be forever damaged over and over and over again. So part of that becoming aware is you have to decide, am I worthy? And honestly, most of my life, I don't think I did think I was worthy.
I don't think we even
At all.
even do at this point.
I don't even know if I had that concept of like that of being worthy. I just was like, well, I'm just in a relationship, and they are hurtful, and then they'll apologize, and they'll hurt you more, and apologize, hurt you more, and apologize.
And that's the cactus theory.
Yeah.
Does anybody know what the cactus theory is? You want to talk about the cactus theory?
So there's two
Because you
theories.
brought that up.
So, so I posted this today. So
Oh, did you?
Most of my, not this picture, but most of my relationships. My mom was my dad. My stepdad. My stepdad would beat the shit out of my mom in front of us. Right? He would beat us. He would beat my sisters. He beat them more than me. And so growing up, I had this rescuer kind of mentality. Right? I was going to be the safe person for women that were damaged. So I would find relationships somehow where the girls have been through lots of trauma and all this, and I would empathize with them. And really it just became an emotional punching bag.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so they hadn't healed. They don't have healthy boundaries. I have no boundaries at that point. Right? And so that is the sad porcupine theory. Right? The sad porcupine is I'm going to go out and try to hug sad porcupines and make them better, but what's the end result every goddamn time? And it's you get hurt. That's not it yet. Wait.
Okay.
Wait, young Padawan.
Young Padawan.
So then I started saying, well, I deserve more. I deserve healthier, right? So then I started being attracted to like really strong women. So instead of like broken, I was like old, strong women, like they're fierce. I like that's really sexy, right? But that's like a cactus, right? It can survive the heat, it can survive the weather, it can survive the freezing, and it has these strong, giant infrastructure to hold the cactus up, and then it has all these quills that also hurt you.
Yeah.
And so the mighty cactus is beautiful and fierce and strong, but you still get hurt. So the cactus balloon relationship typically looks like this. And this is where it was before, where, okay, oh, she's so strong, I'm gonna create a relationship with this strong person. But then I, as the balloon, keep getting hurt. And the cactus is super nice. She provides all these band-aids for me. And she gasses me up with the pump, right? So, like, I feel like, oh, this is pretty good.
Okay.
Right? My last relationship scenarios, I was just getting hurt. Now I'm getting hurt, and they're apologizing to me every time they hurt me and trying to make me feel better by giving me presents and doing nice stuff, right? But is that toxic?
But what if you're in a relationship where you don't get presents or niceties?
That's a sad porcupine. That's just the porcupine. You're just getting hurt.
Well, but there's also what I have on my list to talk about is that narcissistic manipulation, and that it becomes.
Well, that's this.
Well, it's the same thing.
That's that.
It really is. It's
that's
the same thing.
I'm gonna hurt you, but I'm gonna keep putting band-aids on you, and that's just the worst freaking relationship to have. Like, there's no healthy boundaries there.
It is.
But you feel better because at least this person's apologizing, but apologies without change
or
is toxicity.
They come into the relationship little bits at a time.
Oh, the slow boiled frog.
The slow boiled frog.
I've been in that.
And so what happens is they show up every so often, and then all of a sudden they're just gone. So
that's not the slow
your
boiled frog.
Your intimacy levels are off, and you don't know what to do, and it creates a mental game. Is what it creates.
Well, that's the hot and cold, right?
Well, it's
that's hot and cold, on and off. Like, I told one of my favorite girlfriends ever. She's like, well, she was doing hot and cold, and I was like, and she said something like, well, I just feel like we're in a car, and sometimes I just like, maybe I want to get out of the car. I don't know if this is what I want, but I love you so much. And I'm like, how about I pull the car over and you can get out and go find somebody that meets your needs. And I can go find someone that meets my needs. But I would have never said that without healthier boundaries. But that stop and go, I used to fall for that all the time. That push and pull, that hurt and then heal, all the time. All the time. Before healthier boundaries. I don't know if I have it all together.
Awareness of those boundaries.
Yeah.
Some people can actually go through a relationship for several years without having...
I have lots of patients like that.
Okay, so people have boundaries, but they actually don't have implementation of the boundaries. Follow through. And so this happens a lot in parenting, too, where you tell your kids... Somebody called me out on this one day. They're like, okay, I'm not going to tell you one more time. But then the kids are like, doing their thing. And all of a sudden you're like, okay, this is really the last time. This is really the last time. So we're actually literally teaching our kids to do the same thing.
Yeah.
And there's manipulation in that. There's, if I do it a little differently this time. So there are a lot of variables within all of that.
Now that's the... we should talk, if we have time, about the one-line theory for that.
The one-line theory?
Yeah. It came from How to Train Your Man Using Dog Training Techniques.
Oh.
And I freaking love that book. And
okay. Let's hear it.
The one line?
Yeah.
All right. Now, I should not be telling this because it's a secret for guys. But
I'm sure that there's some people on here that would really love to hear that.
All right.
Grit.
So, how to train your man using dog training techniques.
Using
the one-line theory.
Okay.
So, men, dogs, and children. Again, for all you guys, I'm a guy. We're not dogs. We're not children, right? But all of those are inherently selfish. And even in positive ways. Right? Men don't believe self-help is selfish, right? So they'll go do stuff if the world's falling apart, the house falling apart, the argument's not over, and it'll be there when I get back, right? I'm going to go take care of myself and recharge, right? So men and dogs and children tend to be a little bit selfish about that. The problem with that is women tend to be martyrs. And women will give everything and rescue everybody and try to solve everything and give everything they have and refuse to recharge themselves and fall apart while everybody else is taking care of themselves, right? Mm-hmm. Meeting their needs. So, if there is, you define this line, right? So there's this continuum. This is how much I'm willing to take, right? And you clearly define that line, right? Which is, you are going to stop messing with those toys at the store. You're going to stop arguing with your sister. You're going to stop coming home drunk. You're going to stop using abusive language to me, right? Whatever that line is, you clearly define that line. So, do men and children and kids obey that line? Do they just...
Dogs.
Dogs?
Children, dogs.
Men, children, dogs. Do they accept that line and just like, hey, I respect her. Yeah, I should definitely honor this line. No. The inherent nature is to keep pushing past that line to get what you want. And you push past that line. So here's your line. They push past and past and past and past and past and past and past, and then you explode. Right?
Yeah.
You go from you stop touching that to grabbing them and spanking them in the store and screaming and yelling and dragging them out by their arm, right?
Nobody's ever done that here, right? Right?
Or screaming, you guys never listen to me, da-da-da-da, stomping and then slamming the door, right? Everybody does it. But the difference between this line and this line, this is where you think the line is, because you clearly conveyed it. This is where everybody knows the line actually is. Everybody knows that. Kids know how much they can push until you explode. Husbands and boyfriends know that. Pets know that. Right? And the difference between those lines are you being frustrated, angry, disappointed, resentful, because they won't honor that first line. But why is there 2 lines? Because you don't have 1 line. If you have to say, for example,
like I just said,
I've told you...
I'm not going to tell you one more time.
That's right.
Yep.
If you ever utter that, I told you a million times and I'm not going to say it again. I'm going to count to 5. 1,
Right.
2. Okay, 2.5. Look, I'm not going to tell you again. You've lost. You have lost. Right? And that's okay. We all go through that. But if you resolve to 1 line, you get to just be happier. So if you say, I always give these examples with patients. There's 3 different ones, but let's say husband drinks a lot, comes home drunk. You don't like it. So you say, if you come home drunk again, I'm going to lock the door and you're going to sleep outside or you're going to find some other place to sleep. So you've established a line. Mm-hmm. Does he obey that line? No. He still comes home drunk because the best predictor of future behavior is past behavior. Always accept everybody at their current level of pathology and never expect them to change. So, if you, the other thing, you pet a dog 3 times and it bites you, you pet it again and it bites you, it's not the dog's fault. Your fault. If you think your husband's gonna suddenly become a different person because you put a little line in the sand, you're the one that's gonna be disappointed.
That makes a good point.
So, he comes home, drunk again, the door's locked. Honey, let me in, baby. Come on, baby. This time. Oh, baby, come on. Go past that line just a little bit, baby. Come on. Oh, baby.
That's funny.
If she gives in, there's 2 lines. If she keeps saying the same thing, I told you, if you come home drunk, the door is going to be locked. I don't care where you go sleep, but you can't sleep here. Then, will he respect it again? No. He will try it again, and it's very frustrating, and it seems very disrespectful. But if you know that's the nature, and you know that's how it works, but you can maintain that line over and over, eventually he will A, not come home drunk, or B, not try to wake you up and get in the house and just sleep in his car.
And manipulate you.
That's right.
That's what that is.
Yeah.
Okay, so... Very,
so that
very,
is
very good analogy.
How to train your man using dog training techniques. It won't work on me because I already know.
Okay, so what are some of your everyone that's out there watching? Because we have a good amount of people watching tonight. What are some of your healthy boundaries? Now, ooh. I want to go into something that I have. Okay, so
healthy boundaries. That's crazy talk.
I have been doing a lot of internal work since last summer, the beginning of August, and before that, like maybe 3 months before that.
My whole time I've known you, you've been doing...
Well, that is true.
You've always been that person, like that.
Oh,
how can I be a better person? How can I be better than...
I know. Yeah. Not that I've ever been a bad person. It's just that I don't know, I'm just embarking on a whole different... I don't know. I mean, I'm really heavy into science right now, and the science and spirituality of life, and so it's not nothing that I haven't ever been. It's just now I'm having an opportunity to do that, to actually put it into play.
You've never been a bad girl?
So I was going to talk about.
I'm the bad boy of the chess team, yo.
Oh yeah, I cheated in chess. I cheated in chess once. So anyway. So I want to talk about several. Well, I guess it was last May. You know, we've all had a pretty rough year in 2020, but
why?
It really gave me what happened. I don't know. So it gave me a lot of opportunity to really start putting into place my thoughts and really becoming more aware of really who I am and what I want to be in my second half of my life, because we're in our 50s now. But you're talking about healthy boundaries. It was something that was brought to my attention. Brene Brown wrote a book about boundaries.
Brene Brown?
Yeah,
Which one is that? I love her books.
Yeah, I didn't write it down.
I have a couple.
She's got a bunch. She's got like 5, I think, now.
My favorite is I Thought It Was Me, but it wasn't.
I mean, seriously, we only have like 20 minutes left.
Break it off
Do
something proper now.
Do y'all mind if we go over our hour? However, So what I really did is I kind of like got myself in trouble by understanding this book and boundaries and healthy boundaries, because I didn't realize nobody exhibited boundaries at all in the relationships that I've had. Now, in the past, I've had boundaries where I was the boss. I pretty much said, hey, let's do it this way, let's do it that way. Yeah, go ahead, do it that way or this way. But not everybody functions like that.
Cactus?
A little bit. So really understanding my own level of boundaries became, wait a minute, while we have boundaries, we have different styles of boundaries. Different people are more affected by a hard boundary than they are in a relationship.
Oh, you're hitting me here.
And then you have a soft boundary.
Are you pointing me out?
No, so a hard boundary would be, I do not want you to go out on a date with someone else if we're in a committed relationship. That's a hard boundary. Some people are more flexible with that. It's just the way things are.
Yeah, we're going to need that phone number.
Yeah, right? And so then a soft boundary would be, well, that's your job to do the laundry, but can I help you out tonight and let you just go do your thing? So that's a soft boundary. You just broke a soft boundary. It's not a big deal. A hard boundary is something that's really going to hurt and deeply affect you for potentially a long period of time, right?
Yeah.
So boundaries, when you're talking about boundaries, there's all kinds of different levels of boundaries. And the key thing is to have communication, specific communication about what those boundaries are. Because if you don't, it's going to cause a lot of issues. Because then all of a sudden somebody's going to go off on a tangent. I am going to do these boundaries, and whether they're soft or hard, and blammo, if you don't follow my boundaries, then I don't think that's going to be a good deal for us.
Okay, so I messed up with that before, and you called me out on that because I had overly hard boundaries about. So I had healthy boundaries.
I did, y'all, but it was loving. It was in a loving way.
It was perfect.
I didn't
It was exactly
just so y'all know, I
was not aware. So
kick him under the boat.
I had reactive hard boundaries about things that should be soft boundaries.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so, then you end up sabotaging because you overreact in things that you feel is positive, healthy, but it's God dang it, you made a mistake.
And who says that everything has to be a hard boundary? If it's not discussed, you don't really know. You don't really know what this person's boundaries are, right? So in order to have a healthy boundary, there has to be communication. You have to be specific in knowing. I'm trying to look up my notes from last summer. I thought I had them pulled up here, but anyway, let's read. Will you read some of the stuff while I'm trying to look this up?
So let's see here.
Let's see if I can find it.
So Gina says she uses her dog training techniques to raise her child.
Well, in a way, it's kind of the same.
It's the same. Humans are selfish. Lisa says so true. Gina talks about buttons, pushing buttons there.
Oh, it's not coming up.
And then Stephanie says, how do you change it once one emotional and the other one is a gift giver? What?
Say it again.
How do you change it?
One emotional and the other a gift giver. Are you talking about the 5 love languages?
Oh, Stephanie, you're going to have to explain that. I don't know.
Give us a little bit more detail on your question, because
Dave says he has soft boundaries. I had 2 soft, and then I overreacted with harder ones.
But the point is, you can have soft boundaries as long as there's clear, concise communication about it.
Communication?
Yeah.
That's crazy talk.
Okay.
You guys are doing pretty good feedback here.
Yeah, we really appreciate this. This is what I was really hoping for. I love this stuff. I could do this all day long.
Oh, so Lisa says, I was once told by a man, no less, than that I better lower my standards or I would never find a man My response was I laughed. Yeah, so that's that thing of like
Oh,
devaluing
wow.
you,
Wow.
as a way of defensiveness.
Devaluing is okay. So I want to talk about narcissistic manipulation. Includes there's 3 things: idealizing, devaluing, and discarding. Just like that.
Yeah.
And then if you play back into it, if you fall back into it somehow, then it just is a cycle. It just keeps going over and over again.
Yeah.
And
because that's probably the difficult thing, like with your healthy
work.
boundaries, of like, if you allow things, just like that one line, right? The one line theory is if you allow things and then you break up and you get in a relationship, that's the starting point, right? You can't, and that's the thing, is like going back to a old relationship that had kind of crappy boundaries. Like, they're not going to expect that you're going to be this more well balanced person and that you have better expectations for them and you're a little bit more clear on your healthier boundaries. Like, it's going to be hard to go and retrofit that back into a relationship.
Yes.
Have you guys ever done that? Like, I always tell, especially patients and stuff, typically with men, wherever they're at, there's only a handful of guys that get better, right, with age. But most guys, whatever you got, it only gets worse from there, right? And so the idea is like, if you go back, there's only a certain amount of guys that are like, man, I want to be a better man. I want to be a better father. I want to be a better friend. Like, how can I create my own healthier boundaries and do all this stuff? Most guys are like, I got away with it, so now I'm going to do this next horrible thing that's even worse. And, she came back, so she must be okay with it.
I have, so I did this back in October. As far as there's a lot of different things that I was looking at as far as how you interact in a relationship. So there's a guy named Steve Pavlina, and you can look him up online. But he's talking about love-based clarity, trust in human relationships. He talks about his primary gains and secondary gains and manipulations. There's 4D relationships. When we don't have much more time, but if we want to talk about Facebook, who wants to talk about Facebook?
What's Facebook?
And social media.
Facebook!
And how it actually interferes with our daily lives. But there's something called 4D relationships. So in these boundary relationships, not only do we need to talk about these boundaries, but we also need to understand, do we really need to have these boundaries with certain particular people? So what is that? So it could be anything from social media to people who are contacting you on Messenger. I don't have a dimensional relationship with these people, and so I don't think that I need to spend my time on that. So it's called 4-dimensional relationships. One is physically, mentally, emotionally, and purposefully.
Oh, I like that.
So the physically is, okay, let's start with purposefully.
No, let's start with physical.
Yeah.
Tell me more about this.
Okay, so purposefully is you might have a connection with someone spiritually, or you might be in line with someone who you might spend a little bit of your time with.
You vibe with them.
Yeah. That doesn't necessarily mean it's going to play into the 4 categories or whatever. You might just have that, and that's it. It might be someone that you work with. Emotionally is your heart center. How do you connect with them emotionally?
Yeah.
Right? Mentally is your mind. Most of the time, mentally is coworkers, passers-by, people you see at the gas station, and you know them from, 2 years ago. Hey, I saw you over at the cow farm or whatever. I don't know. And then physically is the body.
Did you say cow farm?
I did say cow farm. Anyway, so physically is the body. So if you have a romantic relationship with someone, then you should have those 4 categories that give you that.
Yes.
Now you can set boundaries. Now there's soft boundaries and hard boundaries. If you only have and this goes in all across the board with social media or any contacts that you have in your life, decide. I've had a couple people ask questions, what do you do? What do you do? You know, I got all this change in my life. You have to define how much time you're actually going to spend on those relationships that are only 1D, one-dimensional. You only have one thing in common with them. Decide if it's two things in common with them.
That's a
Maybe
double
it's
D.
20%.
That's a double D relationship.
Yeah, it's a double D. You're not going to spend a certain amount of time on that, and so on and so forth. So really, you have to determine, and this is what Wise Women, the workbook does, is to decide. You have all of these things going on in your life. Do I really need to be, one-dimensional or two-dimensional or even three-dimensional? Because what you're doing is, if you're doing three-dimensional relationships on social media especially, then you're taking away the time that you spend on your four-dimensional relationships, which covers a full-dimensional relationship. Because you're missing the physical? You're missing everything because you're focused on something else over here. You don't want to miss out on that, do you?
What if you build the relationship up for the 4D with the 3D through social media? What about that?
Oh, I don't know. See, okay, so then that goes into the social media of 60% of users reported it has impacted their self-esteem in a negative way. Yeah,
because everybody's posting their best life. That's why every picture I post is the worst picture.
But everyone else's lives are more valuable or important because they're posting glamorous.
Right, I know. It's your best life.
And there's lots of people where I'm looking at their pictures going, that's what their life really looks like. 50% of users reported social media having a negative effect on their relationships.
Oh, why is that? Wait.
Okay.
How's that work?
Because.
Oh. No, I'll tell you one. It
causes this.
Okay.
Unrealistic. Okay. Let's see, the relationship part. So the relationship part is you can, I don't know where it's at on here. What did I do? Not print it?
Good. I'm going to tell you mine.
Okay. Well,
you guys post.
I don't have to read it. It's
social media.
When your partner is spending more time on social media than they are with you.
I went to dinner.
It's not good.
On a date. Spent a whole gang of money. And
she's on social media the whole time.
She's constantly this. And I literally turned and just was like watching the TV on the other side of the restaurant.
But was she posting wonderful things about her date or you or anything?
No, she's just on her phone. Like, I'm here. How about we be together? How about we connect? Right? Like, if I'm on my phone, that would be like very disrespectful and rude. Like, that's a good soft boundary or maybe hard boundary. I don't know.
Oh, Yogi Saka says.
Yogi.
I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. Yogi Saka.
Yeah. Ooh. You know, he's the master of all this
I
stuff.
know. I love that he's on here. Thanks for joining us. I'm going to read this real quick. Because our true nature is boundless as spirit. Oh, whoops, that's a long one. I'm going to read it over.
Can you see it on yours? I can't even see it on mine. Okay.
Because our true nature is boundless as spirit, we all naturally desire to experience boundless love in life beyond boundaries. However, in human form, in human relations, which is relative, boundaries do play an important role. Thing is that people expect boundless love in human relations and become frustrated and show no interest to discover our boundless soul using the boundaries of roles we play.
Yes.
There you have it. And y'all should look him up on Facebook too, because he says a lot of really wonderful things.
Yeah. So another way that Facebook ruined my relationship.
Okay.
Is one of my relationships, she posted lots of pictures of us. Like, we're us. We're a couple. We're together, right? And then she stopped. And she posted other stuff. And I would post us, and she would tag herself in it. But
And this is
But I was like kind of sad because I was like, but you're not posting us anymore. Do we not exist? But then when you tag yourself, we exist. So then I'm just like, I'm all confused. I'm like, this is the dumbest thing to be upset about. And like, why am I upset about this? Is this like
why is it so important?
Yeah, why is it so important that, and, you know, like that's a weird thing. And that's something, you know, you never had before the internet, trying to figure this out. But like, yeah, that's a weird thing to me.
It's very interesting because it's almost like I was talking about the narcissism. Like literally, it's like deprivation. It's like I love you, and then psh,
yeah,
I'm not going to show the world that I love you anymore. So social media in general is not probably the best place to be when you're in a relationship with someone.
Yeah.
It's recommended that if you're in a breakup to unfollow or to just get off Facebook together altogether.
Yeah, every single time I break up, I unfriend and just say, look,
it's just
I can't see you on there every day, and I don't want to see you fall in love with someone else and have that. I love you, I want to be friends with you, but I need like a visual space for a little bit. And then I friend them back, and then we're friends, right? I'm friends with almost everybody most everybody I dated.
It was very difficult. It was very difficult when you come through a breakup to see that they're just online doing stuff, and that you really want to be working on this progress in the relationship, and it's very difficult. And that's exactly what it says here. It's like jealousy of seeing a partner spending more time communicating with others, or in a sense, you feel cheated on. Especially after a breakup. It also recommends don't air your dirty laundry if there is a breakup.
No, don't do
that. No, I don't. No, that's
always walk away.
Yeah, just be peaceful. Be peaceful and healthy. Because workplaces see stuff too. I mean, you know, there's all of that.
Mm-hmm. But I will tell you,
if you stay online with that, then it increases addiction to scrolling, to finding out what they've been doing or who they're talking to. Or there's also algorithms that pick up on where those people have been searching out things or whatever, and that'll show up, and it causes all kinds of really unhealthy situations. It creates narcissism and the need for validation of ego and superego. There's something called selfie post addiction, where you might see someone that just constantly posts pictures of their faces. But there are some people who really need social media because they're lonely, or they're connected to other things. So there's good things too.
It's not Facebook. It's healthy boundaries.
Yeah.
Right?
Even having healthy boundaries with social media.
Yeah. Yeah, so so we ran out of time. But let's do a part 2.
Okay, do y'all want to do a part 2? Because we just rambled right through this whole hour.
Because I still want to talk about like how to create healthy strategies for social media for yourself, right? Mm-hmm. Because a lot of people exhaust themselves because of that. So they think they have to have family on the Facebook, and they have to have friends and friends.
There's good things to it.
Facebook, you learn like seemingly healthy, wonderful, loving people in your life are horrible and say horrible stuff and think horrible thoughts, and then now you have to deal with that. And so we'll talk all about that next time. I do like Lisa said, I miss the day when the phone had a cord and was attached to the wall. Oh my God, I cannot tell you, like dating these days is weird to me, because I'm like, why are you texting? Like, I just text and I gotta watch my show and then text. Like, can we just talk on the phone?
You know, that's just
Can we just talk on the phone and, like, talk about our lives and get it all done, instead of, like, just spending all this time, like, these short little interval distraction things of, like, I don't like that at all. I don't.
You know, what I will suggest, too, is that we can do, like, way more episodes on this whole topic.
We could talk forever on
We
this.
could. However, we want to talk about.
We could do the year of EI.
But there's also really good things that we can do too that can help.
So next time we want to talk about like how to apply and develop green flags, your personal healthy boundaries, you're applying those healthy boundaries to people you love and to friends and to social media, so that way you don't feel like you have to be in toxic relationships
or any situation
with anybody. Family, friends, at the store. Like my friend the other day, he wasn't wearing a mask in Home Depot. He had to get some paint. So he one of the guys comes by and says you need to wear a mask, and then he argues with them, and then they call the cops, and then he's arguing with the cops, and eventually he got his paint and left. But at the cost of exhausting his hormones and creating a bunch of bitter and angry feelings over something that, who cares? Right?
Well, there are a lot of people who do care about that right now.
No, I know, but if you want to use, like, if I want to go to Starbucks, they make me wear a mask. If I want to go to 7-Eleven, I have to wear a shirt. I remember back in the day when I didn't wear a shirt, I didn't have shoes, and we were all down at the creek, and then, they're like, you gotta have shoes and a shirt. And I'm like, you don't control me. But what do I want? I want something from that store. So I'm gonna put some shoes and a shirt on. So it's okay. It's okay to comply to that stuff for if you want what they have, you probably ought to wear some shoes or a shirt. Or could he have had a different reaction or different interaction to get his needs met that didn't require the cops being called on him and almost getting arrested?
Yes.
Could he be in the same kind of traumatic reactive situation to where he's not reactive, he's being responsive, and he gets his needs met without the trauma? And that's really the goal of this, because whether it's mask or anything else, we are all going to be confronted with a Karen. We're all going to be confronted with some jerk. And we can blame them because we feel awful and reactive. But it is us. It is always us. We are always the problem. We are always the solution. And that's where relationships now, when people, like my friends come in like, oh my God, he did this. And it's like, so?
We can't
why are you with him?
We can't blame anybody.
You know? Like my friend the other day, she came in here, she's bawling and crying. She's like, oh my God, he's so crazy and all this stuff. I'm like, well, then don't be with him. Well, you don't understand. Yeah, I do understand. You decide, do you want to be with him?
Yeah.
And go through this and have your reactions, and he has his reactions. Or do you want to go be happy?
One of the things that I want to say about that is that years ago, I was, we can't be in the victim role all the time. We can make change. We can decide. We can make a decision, and that makes
got ownership.
It's ownership. It's
ownership
yeah.
to own your shit.
There you go.
I think that's the thing.
So anyway, we in other episodes, I wish we could have like a YouTube channel with all these episodes on it. But in other episodes, we talked about how we actually wake up in the morning and how we perceive who we are and how we structure our day and how we accept ourselves and how that projects onto other people. And what I really feel like is that we all have a certain type of energy that we resonate with. And so if we're not feeling good with who we are and what we're doing in our lives, then we're going to project that onto other people, and it's just going to create havoc no matter what it is. Social media, workplace, relationships, or whatever. So my theory is that to wake up every day, open your eyes, let the light in, be positive, and let energy just go.
Yeah.
And stop thinking about stuff. Let your heart open up and let these things happen, but don't be a doormat.
Yeah.
Recognize all of this stuff.
So that's your goal for a relationship. Their trauma doesn't have to hurt you, and they apologize, give you band-aids, and air you back up. They fix their own trauma.
Yeah.
They address their own triggers.
Oh
That's what we all want to be.
Throat's getting dry.
We want to be the cactus that prunes its own quills, that corks its own quills, that does things so that we don't end up hurting others and having to go through this cycle. So that emotional intelligence is first becoming aware that we have those quills, and then how it hurts other people and how we're going to solve that for ourselves, right? Because no matter how good you are, you're still going to be the enemy of somebody's story. So, everybody will be the enemy of somebody's story, especially if you have siblings.
Oh
right?
my gosh. You know,
But wait.
was like the hardest thing for me when I figured out somebody didn't like me.
Oh,
I know.
that's not possible.
It broke my heart. I was like, are you serious?
You've been reading my
I've
diary?
never been mean to anybody.
All right. It's 8 o'clock. That means it's martini time. We can't.
Oh, Lordy.
Today's martini.
I
Now,
don't know about
Lisa
that.
said she turned on her notification.
I've set my notifications to alert me when you're on next time. Can you let us know what day and time you're on? Absolutely.
Now, it's almost always on Tuesdays at 7 p.m. Central Standard. But I had to help a friend who was moving last night, and so we switched to today. So usually it's always Tuesday, always 7 p.m., and for the last 5 or 6 years now.
I want to leave you all with some reading material before we go, because when we come back on, if he lets me come back on, because I love doing this, I think we kind of fire each other up a little bit when we're doing these programs. Okay, so
I just like that I don't have to mansplain everything that you say. She's so wise.
Brene Brown, The Secret, Deepak Chopra, Bruce Lipton,
Not
Greg
The
Brayton,
Secret.
and Abraham Hicks, Jordan Peterson.
No.
Thank you, Tracy Holdeman, for getting us addicted to that.
No, only Brene Brown.
Okay.
I don't know any of those other people.
But Jordan Peterson, actually, he says, get your life together. And he's just matter of fact, boom, 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 clean your room. If your room's not clean, everything's out of whack.
Yeah.
So those are just some things to kind of think about. Some of them are kind of woo-woo, enjoy, open your mind. And then, of course, like Jordan Peterson is just, whew, keep up with them.
Somebody got herself a little crush.
Uh,
All right. Bye, you guys.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us.
It's been fun and fast.
We'll
and
see you
furious.
next week. Please share this with your friends. Hopefully, it was informative. But love you guys.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.